slow? No. Good kid. Devil behind the wheel. Was he slow? Retarded means slow. Was he slow? No. What the hell else more do you need to know?
Welcome to Geeks Between Worlds. I am your host, Oscar Lucio. I am with Steven Scott Horn. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. How are you doing on this fine day?
I am doing great.
Awesome.
If you didn't know what that song was that we just played instead of our usual intro, that means that you haven't went and seen Baby Driver in the theaters, and we just think that you have made a wrong decision in life.
In life in general. Like, don't worry about all the other things that you've done wrong, the myriad of other things you've done wrong.
Yeah,
in your
you've
whole
done a
life.
lot of things wrong.
This is the number one thing that you have not
Yeah.
seen this movie yet.
Yeah, maybe you may have missed a life event, or you never got to tell someone that you were sorry, you forgave them. That's
Or you
nothing
killed
compared
somebody.
to this. Yeah, that's nothing compared to you missing out on Baby Driver.
Yeah.
Which will be one of our topics today, obviously, right?
It will be.
Yeah, it was so good. I can't wait to get to it. But first, we've got some other matters to address. First of all, I just want to remind all of you, we have a new website, gbwpodcast.wordpress.com. Hopefully, by the next couple weeks, it'll just be gbwpodcast.com. We just need to put like $36 into it. So
Stay tuned.
yeah, there's a Patreon coming. no, I'm just kidding. There isn't yet.
Maybe
There
one
isn't
day.
Yet.
Maybe
One day when I can convince you all to give me your dollars. But
your hard-earned money.
yeah, your hard-earned dollars. But
From
first,
those heists.
yeah, from all the heists.
Yeah.
You don't get it too far into Baby Driver yet.
All right.
I know you're waiting. You want to just bleed Baby Driver. I understand. This weekend though, I was at Denver Comic Con. It was really great. I had a great time. I got a new camera, which we'll be making vlogs with. It is very fucking awesome. I got a shotgun mic. We'll hopefully be turning Goes to the Movies podcast actually into a YouTube show. So we'll just see how that works out. And when we do a Goes to the Movies podcast, we're thinking of it being like a hard, serious review of a movie rather than us doing that for a podcast because, it kind of messes up the schedule for the podcast a little bit. You know what I mean?
Plus, you can't do a serious review in a podcast, I don't think.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll be making fart jokes.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll be doing...
You get the very much more serious vibe when you're on camera. You just have that already in you.
Because people are looking at you.
Yeah.
The internet is
the
watching
internet
you.
they're judging you, and you're like, I'm doing the best I can, and they're just like, I think you could be doing better.
Much better. Much better. But we
Yeah.
won't get into that. Speaking of your camera, how was that lugging around Denver Comic Con?
So at first I was just gonna go neck strap, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I looked into it. I'm new at all this,
Mm-hmm.
This is something I very much want to get into. So hopefully this just keeps growing and growing and growing. And so I looked up, what are some essentials, doing some photography at a convention.
Good old Google?
Yeah, good old Google. And a big thing that I noticed was getting a shoulder strap. So I ended up actually getting like a big, nice, long shoulder strap that goes around to where it puts my camera kind of on my right hip rather than holding around my neck because I got a Canon 80D, so
Heavy bitch.
It's pretty heavy. So I'm really happy that I got that because man, I had a camera last year that wasn't as heavy as that, and I thought that it was pretty, it was a little bit too much weight for my neck, and after a while, it just kind of becomes unbearable and you don't want to do it. So this shoulder strap though, I mean, you have pretty much no weight, and I was able to carry it around like for 9 hours.
Did you just
Saturday.
make sure to have the lens cover on it whenever it was on your side or something like that?
No, I had a lens hood on, and then I just had like a little pretty much, it's almost like a very, very small turkey baster.
Oh, I thought you said it's pretty much like a turkey.
No,
it's
like a little miniature turkey baster that you just kind of blow on your lens to get the dust off.
I see.
So I just left the hood on, and I just kind of just hit it with that whenever I can.
Cool.
So it worked out pretty good. I was pretty happy. It seems like a lot of you were happy. If you haven't checked it out, we have a full gallery on our new website. Once again, GBW Podcasts with an S at the end, .wordpress.com, and it's all over our Facebook too. Thank you for everybody that engaged with us and tagged all of your friends. That's exactly what we love to see. We just want to make you guys happy, so that's pretty great.
A lot of great cosplays out there.
A lot of great cosplays. I don't know if it was because I was finally doing this like a full time, like especially on Saturday and for the most part of Sunday.
And I think Saturday is when everyone probably got their got their best
Yeah,
cosplay out.
exactly.
And,
So I like I said, I don't know if it was because maybe it was just the best year for cosplay, or if it was just the first year I really paid attention to that 100%. But yeah, this year was great. You guys looked fucking fantastic.
Any favorites?
Female Bowser by Drizzy Designs, pretty
Ooh,
great.
Awesome.
I hope it's Drizzy Designs. It might be.
If
Disney
not,
Designs.
it should be Drizzy Designs.
Yeah, I think it's Drizzy Designs.
It better. If not, change it.
Yeah,
No, I'm just kidding.
No,
You be you.
Green Arrow from SLC. Green Arrow. Great. Maybe I took a picture of that guy, and it felt like I got a picture of the Green Arrow. Like it felt really great. Nightmare Loki cosplay was really good. She had a cosplay of Stephen Strange, Doctor Strange, and that turned out really great.
Good.
So yeah, those were also Kratos. I found a Kratos.
Oh yeah, that one was
I
really
don't
good.
have a cosplay name to shout out. I don't know if he even has a cosplay page, but you should. You looked fucking fantastic.
Nice.
He was God of War 4. He wasn't like,
Yeah.
like he had the Nordic axe, he had the
beard and
beard,
everything.
he had like the fur leather,
Nice.
straps. I mean, it looked fucking great. Like,
Was his son there?
no, his son was not there.
Good.
But he had gauges, so it was like fucking legit too.
Oh, that is
I was
cool.
like, he just had like black gauges, like nothing crazy. So like it really just blended in well. Like
Nice.
you probably would look at him, take a picture, and until like you realize that he had gauges, you'd be like, oh, he had gauges.
Just
Like
part of
yeah,
it. Nice.
exactly, just part of it. So it looked really good.
Super cool.
I saw a piranha plant. That was pretty sweet.
Nice.
Let's see, what else did I see? I saw a big Lego Spawn. And it was like he was like looking at the directory, so it was really funny because he was a really tall Lego, just like looking at the directory.
Where to go?
Yeah, exactly. So that was pretty cool. Let's think. Oh, a really good Garrison from Mass Effect. Really, really great Garrison.
What they use for like the face stuff, like just like styrofoam stuff, or did it
I'm
just look
I'm
so
not
good
too,
you don't
I'm
even
not
know?
too sure, but it looked
Nice.
fucking great. It looked really great.
Fuck yeah.
Check it out. He had light blue contacts in too.
Oh.
He or she, not too sure. Some of these people, you guys cosplay so well. I don't know if you're a boy. I don't know if you're a girl. And I probably seen you yesterday, and I didn't even know that it was you.
Ooh.
You guys did so good. Like
Awesome.
there was a cosplay, Fayborn cosplay that kept tagging us. She had a really great War Wonder Woman, and she was Lollipop Chainsaw, and I didn't even know it was the same person.
See? Nice.
They were like, "Oh, it's great! You took 2 great pictures of me," and I was like, "I didn't even know that was you."
You're like, what? That's the
Hands off
same
to you.
person?
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That was
Let's think. Anything else that I would like to mention real quick? Oh, I got a great Megra from Hercules.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I think that Megra, right?
Wait, the girl?
Yeah.
Meg.
Meg. Yeah.
Maybe her full name's
think,
Megra,
I
but,
think it is.
but
yeah.
her calls
But
her
yeah,
Meg.
Meg.
Yeah.
So a really great picture though.
Nice.
That and a Wreck-It Ralph.
I'm pretty sure I
couple.
saw that one.
Yeah.
Really good. So with all that time, did you have time for any of the panels, or did you see any celebrities
So
or
I
anything?
did see 2. Kevin Conroy usually comes about every year, and I just never went to go see him.
Nice.
Finally went this year, and it was actually really great. It was awesome. I mean, he talked. What was cool is that Latino Review Media actually released a small article about him talking about the difference between doing things like the animated series or animated movies versus doing Arkham Knight, or Arkham City or Arkham Asylum. And it's crazy just the difference, and he really, you could tell that he really didn't actually like doing the games. Like, I'm sure he's very grateful and he's happy that he was able to be a part of it and to put that cement, into the foundation of him being Batman, just another version of Batman that he was able to perfect. But yeah, at the same time, he was just like, when I do animated shows, it's a sandbox. That's what he kept referring it to. It's just a playground. It's a sandbox of us all working together and feeding each other. He kept mentioning Mark Hamill about how great they work together because they just feed each other. You know what I mean? Just true emotions and stuff. And he goes, when I'm doing Arkham City, it's just me in a box and someone telling me to repeat a line over and over again, and I have nothing to play off of. So
that makes sense.
He specifically says, go to the Batcave. And they're like, with irony, he's like, go to the Batcave? And it's like, okay, now lose the sarcasm, but still with more on. He's like, go to the Batcave, and it's just like he just has to keep doing that over and over and over again. So and then they talked about some of their favorite episodes. He talked about how Mask of the Phantasm is probably his favorite Batman movie, just period. Also favorite thing that he worked on, which Phantasm was great. I mean, I don't know if you remember that from our childhoods, but that was like the big movie that came out of the animated series. And
not too sure if I've seen it.
I feel like you have.
I might have.
Like if I would show you the cover of that, you'd be like, oh, Mask of the Phantasm. Totally know what you're talking about. Yeah. So we got him to sing. He was singing. He's saying I'm blue. Which he sings in the animated series. And then it was somebody's birthday, so he got all of us to sing this person happy birthday.
What?
So, I mean, just think of how happy that person was.
Yeah,
man. Batman, the Batman, Kevin Conroy. And got a whole crowd to do it, too.
That's dope.
And then I also got to see Nathan Fillion's panel.
What?
And it was fan-fucking-tastic.
Oh, was that one just like...
Full theater, they let us in almost an hour and a half early. It was the first panel of the day.
Nice. Everyone probably had like energy. And
nice. Exactly. And he was so Nathan Fillion-y. You would imagine who he is on stage, and that's what you got. You know what I mean? Like
awesome.
This funny guy, very sarcastic. They asked him questions about being in games like Destiny and Halo and stuff. And he said as much as he likes the PS4, and how much time he spends on the PS4, he says that his favorite game, though, is probably Halo. And he did have a very big part in that game, so I can very well see that. And but yeah, he still says he plays Destiny and stuff like that. He goes, the only thing is, though, he goes, when you have a career like mine, when I get on Destiny with all my friends, I'm eventually the guy that is lagging everybody behind. He's like, when we're doing raids or something like that, like everybody has to tell me what to do, and like he's like, and they're all cool with it because of who I am, but I feel bad, you know what I mean? Because I'm like the guy that's always dying or can't make a jump or things like that. Which that is how raiding in Destiny is.
Yeah, you're always that person at one point or another.
Exactly.
In Destiny. But I mean, everyone's cool. That's what's so cool about Destiny is everyone's cool with it generally. And if you have that douchebag that isn't cool with it, just kick him out of the party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Fuck that
exactly.
dude. Especially if it's Nathan Fillion. Just let him be.
Yeah. No, there's no way you kick Nathan.
No,
there's no way. There's no way.
Yeah, I would fucking I'd run that guy through raids all day.
And then they were talking about things like someone asked like what his white whale was, the Moby Dick, the role he never got, And he goes, I don't like to think of it that way. He's like, I think there is a couple white whales, but I don't exactly want to tell you. He's just like, because when you're at events like this, that'll become an article, and then that article will become a whole, thread on Reddit, and then there'll be a subreddit, and he goes, but I'll tell you, he goes, if you all knew how many roles I auditioned for and how many roles I didn't get. He goes, you all would think of me very differently.
That's funny.
And then, they were talking about, like, what's your next big thing? What are you ready to, do again? He goes, we realize that you're in all this. You're all in, like, these little cameos now, to where he's in, like, Monsters, Inc. or Monsters University. I mean, he has a small part in Cars, He did some things in, like, some TV shows and stuff. And he goes, you know what? After Castle, and he kind of looked around, and he's just like, I'm just not ready for that kind of commitment yet. It's not you, it's me. It's just like, and he was just awesome. So himself, he was just very, very funny, the eyebrow raising, like looking around, like, and then the best part about the panel is that we're going through all these questions. We're all really trying to, know who he is through all these Q&As, and really it was mostly a Q&A to where Kevin Conroy was at the beginning. It was more of like a design discussion, it was somebody asking him questions that was on stage with him, to where Nathan Fillion, it was like, okay, panel starts, first question, so it was really a big Q&A.
Cool.
And so we're trying to peel back the layers of this guy that we all love. He's talking about Firefly, he's talking about doing Serenity. I feel like someone tried to mention Blast from the Past, but it kind of didn't connect because he's Alicia Silverstone's boyfriend in Blast from the Past with Brendan Fraser. Do you remember that movie?
Not too much.
So Brendan Fraser, pretty much real quick, he is like stuck in a bunker because they were in the 50s, and Christopher Walken, his dad, thinks that a nuke is about to drop, so they all run into the bunker that his dad made, and they live there for like 25 or 25 30 years in this bunker. But really what happened was a plane crashed into their house, so they just thought that a big explosion happened above them, so they stayed under, and it was at the time of war and stuff like that. So finally he comes out, and he's experiencing the world for what it is, and it's 30 years later and the world's pretty much gone to shit, but he's this really wholesome dude. Meets Alicia Silverstone, and then her boyfriend that she's trying to get away from is Nathan Fillion, and I feel like someone tried to mention that, but like it just didn't connect, and it went into another question. But it's just crazy to think about like all of the roles that he actually has had through the years that you just would never think about, and then the last question comes up, and this guy goes, hey, does this ring a bell to you? Toast UNSC. And he goes, sorry, that rings no bell with me. And he goes, oh, okay. He goes, well, I never really knew my dad, but my mom went to that college, and when I asked her to show me a picture, she showed me a picture of you for who my dad was. And he just like, his eyes get real wide, and he looks at the chick that's on stage with him, and
what the fuck?
They just had nothing to say, and she goes, wow, you've made us speechless. And she goes, okay, well, I guess we do have one more time for one last question. She just goes to another question. But yeah, Nathan Fillion just looks at him, he goes, I am so glad you're the last question. like homie just straight up tried to like drop the I think you might be my dad bomb.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And it was just like left the whole audience in awe. Like that is just something that you would never think happened, and like that guy just had the ball. And what's funny is like they pre-screen questions, like for the whole hour or like 30 minutes before it happened. They were like, if you have a question, raise your hand so we can get a volunteer to you and we can figure out what your question is and see if it's, acceptable. And they said, some questions, if we have time for more, we won't get to pre-screen, so just raise your hand. So since it was the last question, it may not have been pre-screened, but what if it was? And some volunteer was just like, heard the question, they're like, oh yeah, you could ask that. Absolutely, you can ask that. Like, that would have been fantastic.
He's just like looking at the crowd like, oh fuck.
Yeah, like I really hope that question was pre-screened, because that would have been fantastic. Like, just a high five to that volunteer that let that one slide. You know what I mean?
Fuck, man.
Like, that is great.
I would like to have Nathan Fillion as a dad.
Right? Like, that's just so... Yeah, she was just like, my mom showed me a picture of you, and his face was just like... I'm so glad you're the last question. And the chick just seen Nathan, like, because he just looked at her and was like, help me.
What the fuck?
And she was just like, all right, we actually have time for one more question. It's just like, and like the whole audience was just like laughing, but then in bewilderment, like that just happened. But yeah, so that was real great. Those were the only two panels I did go to. I was going to go to like these actually educational panels this time, and I was gonna make this convention like the convention of education in my eyes, but that just didn't happen.
See, I would have totally gone.
Okay.
I would have totally gone to the Stranger Things kids panels.
See,
I didn't get to see them, but I've seen actually a lot of articles and a lot of pictures of it.
They have the whole panel online.
Do they? I'm gonna have to watch
They
it.
taped everything really legitimately this year. They had really good camera crews and everything in the Belco Theater, so you can check them out on YouTube.
Nice.
Just search Denver Comic Con panels.
I'll
you'll
have to
find
check it out. Yeah.
Our local newscaster Chris Parente for
actually, what's funny is I heard him.
That.
I heard him say he was going to do it with her like the day before, saying he was going to host a panel with her, and I was just like, "What? That's so cool!" Because I know she was in a panel, and then I know the other two kids, the one with the curly hair. I know they were in a separate panel.
And
so
then,
it's just like fuck.
Yeah. So and the only reason why I didn't go, I'm on episode 8. I know the ending would get spoiled if I went to the panel.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
had to just like take that bullet. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah,
what I
that's
get
last
for not
episode.
finishing the show.
You
You know?
know?
So
It's
fantastic
so
though.
good.
Loving it.
So
Loving
good.
it.
Stranger
Episodes
Things.
4, 5, 6, 7. Fan-fucking-tastic. Like I said, first 3 I was like, okay, I'm getting this. I get what they're trying to do, but you don't really get to see anybody's acting ability. But then shit starts to hit the fan, and you're like, wow, these kids. Why not a writer? Like it's so good, so
fantastic show. Yeah.
and really just like how everything works. Like especially like I can't think of her name, but like the chick that she kind of likes this guy. It was who she goes to the party to, and they crack open and they shock her.
Barbara.
Yeah, Barbara. Is it Barbara?
She's the one with the big glasses.
No, her friend.
Okay.
The
sister then?
Yeah, the sister.
The sister of Mike.
Yeah, the sister of Mike. The dude that she likes at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, I can't think
that
of
has the big hair that gets his ass rocked. In the
what's
alley,
his
and
name?
he's all bloody for the whole episode. And he's like, "Oh, let me help you fix your sign because I'm walking around with blood on my face,
Yeah,
and I
that guy.
didn't decide to wash my face."
Yeah.
yeah. So that
Fantastic.
just a lot of things I didn't want to get spoiled and stuff. So
Yeah. No,
but
understandable. Understandable.
I do plan to watch that as soon as I'm done with the show. So
Good.
I'm really excited.
I'm
But yeah,
gonna have
so
to watch it too.
yeah, we might even just catch some panels that we did miss. You know what I'm
Might
saying?
as well.
But
might just watch that last episode with
yeah.
you.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
But another thing that I want to address with Denver Comic Con is the fact that it's very cool because they decided to do a lot of different things this time. And one thing was they addressed entry, getting into the con. It's completely switched around now. So now you enter by the Belco Theater in the back rather than the front. Now, this leads to 2 things. Number 1, you don't see a bunch of geeks in cosplay when you're going down 14th Street. So it's kind of sad because, like, you look at the front of the convention center, and, like, if you don't notice,
Interesting.
then you won't notice that there's a convention going on. So it's kind of a bummer because, like, I felt like that was, like, a nice trademark of the convention is that all of us were standing outside in front, easily could walk to 16th Street Mall, but now it's all in the back of the con.
That was weird.
Which is
Must have been weird
okay
to
though.
get used to,
Yeah, it
since you've
was.
been to every
But
one.
you would still line up. You know how you would go in that back tunnel where all the mosaic art is. You know, to where it's all like that checkered cement. You know, so you still go back there to start your lining up, right? Now here's something that's cool. They let us into the just like the hall and into the building at 9:30. They started letting us in. Just the show floor wouldn't open up until 10. So it did create a line to the show floor, especially on Friday. But it was cool because like we all got in the building, and I think that made everybody really happy.
Yeah.
You know, because
I'm sure it's blistering hot.
and even years before, I mean, we were sitting there till 10:15. If it opened at 11, we would sit there till maybe like 11:20 sometimes. We're like, why is it not even opening up yet? You know, like they wouldn't even open it. It would be a little bit late. So they really addressed that. Regular attendees, programming, media, blah, 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 you know, all those type of people. And then Speedline 88, all 3 of them have different entries now. So if you're media, you can just go in. You don't have to wait in line with everybody else. Like, you can just get in. ADA Pass, all that, they all have their own separate entries now. So that's really cool. And they have, since it's the Belco Theater opening, because at the, you know, where it used to open at the front of the convention, there's really only like three or four doors to get into. Like, probably 3 max, actually, you know. Well, now there's literally like 8 doors to go into, you know, but now there is bag checks. Bag checks went very fast though, so that was nice. So it really was. I got there a little bit late on Saturday, and I was kind of bummed out. I probably got there at about like 9:30. There's still, and it was the biggest day, so it was still a very big line. And it must, so how it is, you know how the lines used to kind of like wrap all the way around the building? Well, now it just kind of overlays like in a U shape from the Belco to the back, then back to the Belco, then to the back. So it was just kind of like a big U-turns, big U-turns, like a snake. And so I was like, fuck, like, I was like, I still have like a couple of fucking, you know, like U-turns to go before I'm actually like in the line that's like straight to the door, you know? And then all of a sudden, we're sitting there, it's about 10, and I'm like, fuck, you know, like, I'm not going to get into the building till 11 probably. So, and then all of a sudden we're going, and then they just walk by and they're like, all right, just everybody walk forward now. Like everybody in this line turn around and just start going this way. You know, so it kind of just created like this small horde of people. but I was in the building at 10:15.
Oh, nice.
Like on a Saturday, I got there at 9:30, got in line, was way back in line, and I was able to get in the building at 10:15.
Nice.
Like that is doing something right. They fucking did it this year to get you in the building. I thought it was very cool. Good. Now another thing though is now you're not going up those big front escalators, and you're not in front of the Big Blue Bear, so you're actually all in the back of the building now, where the Colorado movie cars used to be.
Yeah, that's what.
So that's where everything actually happens now, and that's where you actually enter the show floor. So the show floor, since you're doing all this entryway change, it's actually flipped around now. So now the show floor starts at the back of the building, and it kind of works your way back and snakes. So it was very, very different for me to get used to, because like it was almost like the con floor was in the shape of an L. So like you would walk in, and Celebrity Summit is right to your right away. And it kind of had a partial block off to where it was in its own room, but a big entryway for you to go into. And then it was con floor, and then the con floor would turn this way. And where Celebrity Summit had those two walls, its front and its side wall, that's kind of where that con would be. So it was still a big square con floor, but the walls, how it's set up, it made the con floor into a shape of an L. And then at the back of the L, that's where your food place was. So it was very, very nice. And I feel like they didn't actually have the food open on Friday, like the big food court open on Friday. They just had little food courts around where the show floor was, and then Saturday they knew, so they opened up a big, huge just area to eat. So it was very cool how they did it. I was very happy with it.
Awesome.
It didn't change the fact that all the food places had crazy long lines.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Things like that. But all in all, I'd say that they changed it for the better.
Cool.
And I'm excited now because, there was those days where you're just waiting hours in line, and I feel like that's now behind us. So that's fucking really cool.
Yeah, so and plus they also added definitely a lot more. There were a lot more, I would say, bigger named celebrities this year than in past years.
Yeah, and it was
so
give and take because a lot of people also ended up like having to cancel.
Yeah.
That was something I noticed about this year, sadly, is that once you just start to get down, like people start canceling, so that does suck.
Or people started just only going one day, like I know Billy Bobby Brown or whatever from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a real name, to be honest with you. I know she was supposed to be
like
there
Millie
like 3
Brown,
days,
I think, or something like that. Yeah.
Billy Bobby Brown.
Millie Brown.
And I think she was supposed to be there like 2 days and ended up just being one day, and then it was like only.
Yeah, and then Billie Piper from Doctor Who, Rose, she was supposed to be there. She had to end up canceling.
Really?
But then they got like John Cusack there, which he didn't have a panel though, so that kind of was a bummer. But yeah, he was still there to sign autographs. But I mean, obviously their Stan Lee this year was Nathan Fillion. You know what I mean? So I was just so happy to get into his panel. You know what I mean?
Can't wait.
But they did do a good job at trying to get other guests when people, Billy Piper left, but then they got Catherine Tate, which is you probably don't know, but it is another companion from David Tennant's saga, which is probably, I want to label her the funnest companion. She's just goofy, she's funnest. Wild, and she actually is known in the UK for having her own like sketch show.
But is
because she's one of those, you would probably say no.
Okay.
But
what's that supposed to mean?
No, I you know what I mean? Like, I think just a younger generation would say no, period. You know what I mean? Just a younger generation would say no
so
to
she's
that.
Old.
But yes, she is. She's not like crazy old, but she's like 40s. Yeah. You're just looking at me, you're like old. But yeah, so there's that, but at the same, but she is hilarious. She's just, but that's the thing with UK shows is they tend to have that older, strong female role. You know what I mean? They really do. Like Orphan Black, all those shows. That's just what they do. That's just how the UK is.
And they got
that's very
queen.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? My dad loves Orphan Black because they have freaking, I can't remember her name now.
I need to get back to that show.
Yeah, fantastic show. But Miss S. I think that's her name. But yeah, they have her, and she's just this older lady with a lot of confidence in herself, and my dad loves it. You know what I'm saying? So
all right,
that's what happens.
Cool.
They know that target audience.
Go old people.
Okay. So from going to old, let's go fucking young. And when I'm saying young, I'm saying fucking B-A-B-Y,
Boom.
baby. Let's get to some babies.
Baby.
Yo.
B-A-B-Y.
B-A-B-Y, baby,
Baby.
Driver. Let's talk about some Baby Driver,
Boom,
okay?
let's do it.
There's so much to say about this
Summer
movie.
movies.
Summer movies, shit, life movies, dog.
Life movies.
Okay, first of all, I'm gonna just say what I thought going into this. Okay,
Good trailer.
I was going into this. I was hearing people say like, "This is what you thought Drive was when you were going into Drive," you know. And Drive ended up being a very artsy, a very kind of slow, serious type of movie. To where this had all those elements at times, but this was a nonstop thrill ride created by your boy Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright, if you don't know, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz at World's End, was also the original director and writer for Ant-Man, which didn't end up happening.
Interesting. I didn't know that part.
Yeah, he actually hadn't seen Ant-Man because recently he even said in a interview, he's just like, that's like going to your ex-wife's wedding, you know? That's like going to and like stalking your ex-wife on Facebook. He's just like, that's what Ant-Man is for me. He's like, I don't plan on seeing it. Yeah.
It was still good, but I'm sure
after
he would have
seeing
done it
Baby,
better.
after seeing Baby Driver, he would have done Ant-Man better. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, yeah. This
sad
guy's talented.
It's sad that Marvel didn't want to let him have creative control over it either. Like, I bet you Marvel's shooting themselves in the foot after watching Baby Driver.
Yeah,
like,
but at least we got Baby Driver out of it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go back in time if I had a time machine and risk butterfly effects and changing the world. Because
No,
if we didn't
absolutely.
get Baby Driver, I don't know what I'd do with my life.
Probably would have been hindered by Ant-Man if he would have spent time on Ant-Man. Yeah,
This
you
movie,
really
like I
don't know.
told you, it changed me for better or worse.
Yeah,
I don't know yet.
Absolutely,
I'm
you're
driving-
still trying to figure it out.
I'm driving like a maniac.
You're driving like a maniac.
I was driving 80 miles per hour to get here today.
Yeah.
And the whole time I'm just thinking, was it slow?
Bump, 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 bump. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Passing
probably didn't do
bitches.
that song justice, but it's just so great. I don't care if I don't do it justice. You know.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just justified.
It
if you
just
see
is.
the movie.
Just go watch the movie.
Yeah.
Just right from the intro, like the get-go of this movie, you know it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Like, it starts off, the kid's got crazy, he's charismatic, he's funny, and then you also have these other actors that you've seen everywhere. I mean, Kevin Spacey can't do wrong.
Yeah.
And then, John Hamm, this was nice seeing him in this kind of a movie. John Bernthal was kind of the same character.
I want to say that this is maybe John Hamm's like biggest thing. Like, I mean, sure, Mad Men, and the things that he has been in, but I mean, like, he had a very pivotal
role. Pivotal.
Yeah, he had a very pivotal role in this movie.
He did. He had one of my favorite roles in the movie.
And probably one of the most important roles of his career, I'd say. Like even though and I was talking about this movie won't get the recognition and the money of movies like Fast Five or
that it
the
deserves.
Fast series, Fate of the Furious. But
that's why we got to get the name out there.
We got to get the name out there, and we have to really just tell people to go fucking see this because it is really it deserves to be on top.
It's a heist movie with heart, and it's just fucking action packed.
It's like no, it's so great. So let's get into so you spoke a little bit about the cast. Ansel Elgort, the main guy, he is a fun character that can get serious, and you see very many layers of his character, which is the best. From when he's singing, from when he's dancing, from when he's not very good. What's cool about the movie is you kind of see him drive a car, and he's amazing in the car. On foot, he seems clumsy. He seems like a clumsy person. But once he's going fast and he's running, he's very good on his feet. And then he's serious, and then he's sad, and then he has to do these things. And his character is so layered. I mean, you never know what to really expect from him, which is really great. You learn about this guy as you're watching it, which is great. This guy was from the Divergent series, was from Fault in Our Stars. But this is the character finally that shows you what this guy can do, and really introduces him, breaks him out in a way that is just perfect.
Well, because he's definitely, I would say this movie was he is the main protagonist, where he wasn't in the other ones.
Yeah, exactly.
If you haven't seen Fault in Our Stars, don't. It's a good movie, but goddamn, is that movie sad? Like, if you just want to fucking cry, go watch that movie. But yeah, his his role was definitely pretty big, but he wasn't the main protagonist. Like he was definitely a supporting role.
Yeah.
I would say so. This was his chance, and they totally Edgar Wright gave him a shot, and he just fucking
ran away
blew
with
it
it.
out of the fucking water.
He really did.
Yeah.
So now we have some other characters: Jamie Foxx, John Bernthal, John Hamm, Kevin Spacey. All these guys do great. You see, Kevin Spacey kind of plays his character to where like I'm in charge. I'm a scary person.
Reminded me of 21. His character.
Yeah, exactly.
21.
But then you kind of you see some redeeming factors, and he really has a full circle role in this movie. You know what I mean? You think he's going to be that one-dimensional character, and he turns out kind of not being that person, and I really enjoyed that.
Yep.
Now Jamie Foxx, you always know that he has this confidence, this spunk about him, but this time, how do we get to see him? As an antagonist, and it really pays off. I mean, they do a really good job at making you feel a bunch of different feelings about Jamie Foxx. You're like, at one point you're like, wow, this guy's great, I fucking like him, and then you're like, oh wow, he's kind of a dick. Oh, ooh, he's dangerous, and then you're like, oh, but he's funny, and his role is almost as layered as much as Ansel's is. You know what I mean? You got John Hamm, like we said, a huge role for his career, and once again he plays that protagonist antagonist, and I think maybe as I'm talking about it right now, that's the best thing about Baby Driver, is you feel a good and a bad for almost every single character.
Like and you don't know what's going to happen with any character.
It is truly spontaneous.
Yeah, yep. And this is the reason why I love this movie so much is, halfway through I randomly just got terrified because I was like, I don't know how they're going to end this movie. I don't know if they're going to kill off the protagonist, if they're going to kill off these characters, if it's going to have a sad ending, if it's going to have a happy ending.
Yep.
I had no idea. And I got scared because I said, if they're going to kill off this main character, it's still going to be a good movie, but I am legitimately going to be fucking sad if this happens.
And that's the thing, too, is that the movie is so grounded, you're seeing everything happen around it, and you do get to that point to where, like, wow, like, I feel like there is no way he gets out of this, because it does. It has a real, very grounded, real, it's not like a XXX movie to where some crazy shit's gonna happen, or like even like a Kingsman movie to where, somehow they're gonna work this all out and everything's gonna be fine. Like, you're like, no, this is real life in this movie, and shit's gonna go down. And they do a very good job building up that third act,
building up the tension and
building your characters and their relationships.
The whole movie.
Yeah, it is great. So now let's kind of talk about, like I said, I want to go into how I felt going into the theater. Now, like I said, I was thinking Drive. I was thinking, this car movie that was heavily cars, to where it is, but it also isn't. It's
it
a
still
very
has like
50-50.
humor and stuff like that.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Like
It is the chase scene. This movie is that ongoing chase scene, whether it's in a car or it's on foot. You know what I mean? It's a mental chase too.
But it's also, a heist movie, so you still got, just guns, and you got it's a gangster movie too.
Which they take very, very amazing influence from movies like Reservoir Dogs, to where the heist isn't the movie. Yes, it's a heist movie, but you're not in the bank. You know what I mean? You see things from Ansel's view.
You are kind of the driver.
You are the driver, and it pays off very well. Like like I said, in Reservoir Dogs, there is no heist. You just see the aftermath.
I actually watched that movie recently for the first time.
Oh
and
God! Man, I bet you were so happy.
Oh man, I can't believe it took me so long to watch that movie.
It's such a good movie, isn't it?
You never see the see the heist.
You never see the heist,
and you don't need to.
Every character is dynamic, and then you're wondering, and then you're like, oh God, he is a cop, and then and then there's a guy, the other cop strapped to the chair. We're going into spoilers for Reservoir Dogs real quick. If you haven't seen it, then that's your fault.
Watch it.
Yeah, exactly. But when the cop's on the fucking chair and he's looking at, I don't remember if he's Mr. White. I think he's I can't remember. But he's looking at him. He's just like, why don't you fucking get the cops here if you're undercover? And he's like sitting there shot, and he's just like, fuck you, I'm in pain. Like, I'm not gonna risk all this and did everything just because you're fucking in trouble. Like, I'm in trouble too, and we're gonna see this to the fucking end. Like it is fucking great. It is such great. And like I said, this movie does take things from Pulp Fiction, from Reservoir Dogs, from Drive, and it just perfects it. You know what I mean?
They do.
I have no doubt that he didn't have those types of movies in mind when he was directing and writing this film.
And I also like how he still wanted to kind of make it a linear, kind of clear, cut and dry movie where you weren't asking a bunch of questions like all those movies you just said, like even like, you know, Pulp Fiction with how it's jumping around and everything. And this movie is easy to follow, easy to watch. You know, you don't have any I wonder what happened here, I wonder what happened there. Like he didn't want you to think hard in this movie. He wanted you to sit down, have a great time, you know, and just enjoy the movie. And like even at the beginning,
and the complexity of the movie comes from just that simple storytelling and chapters. You know what I mean? To, you know, to where the scene
or like just the character development and just all learning about them. And that's where
like the confrontation between John Hamm, Jamie Foxx, and Ansel, you know, like all that stuff, it really does peel back, like to where you realize that they're setting things up and you didn't even realize that they were setting it up in that way. You know what I mean? Like you knew shit was going to go down, but you didn't know exactly how those puzzle pieces fit together. Yeah.
And still like a little love story too. Like, you know, which
a classical love story, which is kind of what makes it great. Like, and that's another thing is that this movie has great inspiration from like the 50s, from the 60s, you know, of those classic stories of, you know, this
dude goes
this
to a
man
diner,
in a bad,
falls in love with the girl.
exactly. These bad situations that a good person's in, you know, and they heavily rely, and the music is maybe, what is this, the best soundtrack since Guardians of the Galaxy?
Probably. And like it's just from start to finish. And what's nice is the movie, you know, made sense. I mean, the music made sense in the movie too, because, you know, he was constantly listening to the music in one way or another and interacting with the music because he's dancing to it, he's singing to it, and you know, he's even saying like, you know, let me restart this song, you know, or,
exactly,
it made
like
sense.
or like when something happens physically to where the music is coming from in the movie, and then the music stops in the movie. You know, he carries around like his music devices, his iPods, and if something happens to an iPod, like the music stops.
Or when he has to take off one headphone or something, and they
you
don't
hear
listen
the
to
music
that music
on your left now
like
instead of hearing it on the right.
And what's cool about it too, this is why you should go watch it in theaters, is even Edgar Wright at the beginning of the movie, I don't know if this was just an AMC promotion or what, but he totally thanked you for watching the movie in the theater, you know, and said this is the biggest screen to see it, you know, loudest to see it, which it was a loud movie. And it, like, I am watching this movie again in the theaters before it's out because of just how perfect it was.
This is an edge of your seat. Let's have fun. Let me get you into having fun, and let's be great friends. And then I'm gonna take you on a fucking roller coaster. Like it
get that R rating.
It gives you a bond with that screen to where you're like, oh, I really love how all of this is going, and then it makes you care for everybody because it puts everybody that you care about in danger. And like how you were saying after the movie, you looked at me and you're just like, we were literally exhaling. Like after scenes took place, you're like, that was great.
After like the big John Hamm scene, around a certain part of the movie, I noticed that you and I both were just kind of like covering our mouths, and then just like it finally like happened and everything, and both of us at the same time were just.
Your hands are locked onto the armrest, and your back is pressed into the chair. You know, and you're just like,
what is gonna happen?
And like, you legitimately feel danger for all these characters. That's what's great, is that this movie, you never have a sense of security for anybody. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, no way they would do that to him. Oh, no way they wouldn't do that. Like, everything is on the table, all cards.
You know, and they didn't play all those cards, and I'm thankful for that. But they definitely, you don't know what's going to happen. And that's what was so cool about it, is they really did, you know, they knew what the tropes were going to be of what they could have done, but they decided to end it the way they wanted to do, and it was fantastic. Like just from start to finish, Baby Driver is just the movie of the year. The movie of the summer for sure. Most likely movie of the year. I can't think of any movie that's going to come out.
You know, I want to say that's like
Star Wars. You know, that could be the only thing.
That could be.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. Well, and that's the thing, is that Baby Driver has nothing. It has no pre-notions. You have no feelings. You don't know what to expect.
It's original as
fuck.
fuck.
Yeah, exactly. And to where Star Wars, I'm gonna go in there with preconceived notions.
High expectations.
I'm gonna
too.
know kind of what to expect.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
High
have all these things.
expectations.
I'm gonna have everything to compare it to.
And I say I think that's unfortunately also what happened with another movie we're going to kind of talk about a bit, Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
Yeah,
to where you
Homecoming.
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
we had expectations. We had, we've gotten tons of other Spider-Man movies.
So let's stick into that transition while we got it. We ended up seeing Baby Driver first. We walked out of the theater, and I looked at you and I said, I'm kind of sad that I saw this movie first. They're saying Spider-Man's fucking fantastic, which it was.
It was. Great movie.
And I looked at you and I said, but no way it can be better than Baby Driver. Which in the end, it wasn't.
It was not.
But let's get into what is great about Spider-Man. Number one, Michael Keaton. Maybe the best villain that we've had in Spider-Man since Spider-Man 2.
And they doubled down on him. It's the very beginning of the movie, so it's not really spoiling it. But the very beginning of the movie is Michael Keaton before you even see Spider-Man.
His introduction, and it starts off right after Avengers.
Yeah. So so it is doubling down on.
And then they tell you 8 years later, and you feel so old.
Yeah, you're right.
You're like, Avengers was 8 years ago. My God.
The fuck was it? I don't know if it really was 8.
I think it has to be.
I don't know.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
It
would come out in 2009 if that's the case. We'll see.
Because I would have been 17.
To bring your Echo
I would have been
Dot.
yeah, no.
You need to bring your Echo Dot.
Hey Alexa, when did Avengers come out? Yeah, there's no way. I was definitely at least like 20, 21.
Let me see.
One of those ages. But
Avengers.
But yeah, like everyone always says.
Yeah, you're right. 2012.
Okay.
So that is a weird little jump that kind of doesn't make sense.
I guess in the movie universe, it might kind of make a little more sense on how they kind of did. I don't know.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that doesn't make sense now.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's 2000. I mean, they should have said 5 years later. It would have just been fine. Because now you're saying that Spider-Man's somewhat in the future, or that Avengers was taking place in the past.
They even said it took place, 2 or 3 months after Civil War.
Yeah.
This movie, so
that is weird.
It's kind of weird. But going back to the villain, everyone always says, a comic book movie, storyline is as good as your villain, and that's why, yes, like Michael Keaton was great, and also Vulture himself when he was in the suit was scary.
Great,
looked great. Reminded me of, like I told you, like a Dark Souls villain. Like, you didn't even see him much because he was so quick and so fast and so loud and so
like
just picking you up.
The scenes
and
of him like slowly going into the plane through like the phase shifter, like just how he looked. He looked awesome.
The jacket,
they did a great job at saying, okay, this villain is a complete threat for Spider-Man, but through the whole time I'm like, Iron Man would waste this guy.
Yeah.
And they did a good job because that's how it should have been. Like, this is that year one villain for him,
Yeah.
And they,
not big enough for Avengers to come
people,
and get him.
If you looked into who was going to be in the cast and who was going to be in Spider-Man Homecoming, you kind of knew that the Shocker at some point was going to be in it. And they do a very great job at slightly introducing him and having him be a smaller role. So it is that, once again, like layered villains, but they do it better than Amazing Spider-Man 2, to where these villains were almost fully developed in Spider-Man 2, but these villains weren't. Shocker was very much the very low time prototype Shocker, to where it was just a dude in a jacket with a tech on his hand. You know what I mean? He wasn't like this big huge thing like Rhino at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2.
It was more grounded.
Exactly.
And which they kind of have to do because it's officially in the Marvel universe. But I mean, they also didn't have to do. We've got fucking Doctor Strange and we've got fucking Guardians of the Galaxy. So they could have done whatever they want. But the way they did this was perfect because they were matches for Peter Parker, like a little above his.
Exactly.
But he was able to take him on still.
And now let's get into why they were matched with Peter Parker. As we were saying, this isn't exactly your origin tale.
No.
But as I told you, it is kind of that year one. There is things like you pointed out to me to where he does get on a very, very high surface, and he says, I've never been this high before. And to where I didn't connect that right away, but you're right. At this point, he's not really just web-slinging around the city, being on top of skyscrapers all day. Like, this isn't that Spider-Man yet, and that's good.
Yeah, or like his combat, his combat wasn't too great, or like, even some of his traversal when he's going through the backyards, he's still crashing into stuff. Like he's still not perfect.
I would comfortably say that probably a lot of the combat in Amazing Spider-Man series was actually slightly better than the combat in this movie.
Yeah.
Just like from the fact to where you see Andrew Garfield kind of crawling around the lizard and putting webs all over him and putting him in that cocoon. Like, there wasn't anything like that yet.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't learned that.
He's still 15.
Which is smart because in Spider-Man, in Amazing Spider-Man, they did have this sense of like this dude that was, especially Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah. He seemed like he was very much fully aware of everything that he could do right away.
Yeah.
And he was able to do all these great things to where he still did great things, and it was very fucking cool to see Tom Holland, go around and do all these fucking great tricks.
A lot of it was probably his own stunts too.
Yeah, his own stunts.
Awesome.
I have something a small gripe about some combat in this movie that we'll get to here in a minute. But another thing is, it's very year one, and you feel like he is learning, and you're learning along with him, which is exactly what they need to do. Yep. And you were saying like age. Everybody's very young, right?
Yeah. Like the casting was definitely really perfect in this movie because, like you see the first Spider-Man and you got, Tobey Maguire and you got all of them, and they
Kirsten
just look,
Dunst,
Kirsten
James
Dunst,
Franco.
like they look like they're like high 20s, early 30s, but it's like, oh, we're still in high school, we're graduating, and it's like, yeah, right. In this movie, the casting was so good because they all looked like kids. Like, these were young actors that did great on screen,
and like
even
I told
all the
you,
sides, like all the side characters were like people you don't even know that were young as fuck, like
like even like the school staff seemed really perfect, to the teachers and stuff like that. Actually, that's kind of funny. Like their academic decathlon teacher was very reminiscent of like the Stranger Things teacher. I thought, you know what I mean, just kind of like a goofy dude that was kind of really in it for the kids, know. And but they did a really great job of that. And you told me that too. You were just like, man, everybody just seems really young and it's really good. And I just looked at you and I was like, maybe we're getting old. And it just blew your mind. And that is weird to think about. It's like, fuck, are we just getting old or what? But and a strange thing is like Tom Holland is 21. Yeah, so like he is in his 20s playing a 15-year-old. Yeah. But Tom Holland does have that baby face, and I don't know if I'm like I kind of want to see him side to side with Tobey Maguire, but it's weird because even when Tobey Maguire is in his suit, like he just looks like a man in a suit. Yeah. When he's in his suit, when Tom Holland's in his suit, he looks like a teenager in his suit.
Definitely a smaller build and everything.
Yeah, exactly. A very slender type of smaller person. So they really did pinpoint that, and I don't think it's us getting older. I think it's their casting.
Yeah,
they did a very good job.
The casting was great. And especially since, which you said you kind of didn't like this part about the movie, but they were in high school a lot.
Yeah, they were.
And it made sense because they all looked like they were high school kids.
Yeah, and to that point, I was thinking about that very heavily. The reason why I think that I could have used less of that is just because I am past that stage of what Spider-Man is to me. Yeah. Like, I understand he was in school, but for me, that Spider-Man is behind me. Yeah. And I understand that it isn't now for the MCU, and now this is kind of where I want to get to. Spider-Man is the perfect person now to get young people back into the DCU, or I mean into the MCU, because there's a lot of people that I've talked to that are like, you know what, I'm not going to see Civil War, or I'm not going to see this because I haven't seen this,
They haven't seen
what I mean, I haven't seen this, so I'm not going to watch this. To where now you can go in, Spider-Man you could be 6, 5, 7, 10. This could be one of your first real superhero movies. Maybe you've seen the Iron Man movie. Maybe you've seen them all.
A little bit,
You probably don't have a great sense of chronological order like you do if you're in your 20s and you've seen all of them.
You don't even know that they're all connected.
Exactly. You can walk into Spider-Man, and like I told you, now when you're seeing these movies, especially Spider-Man, it is like you're opening a Marvel comic book, because now it is very much grounded. You know what I mean? They really do rely heavily on the MCU in Spider-Man Homecoming. Yeah. From the Avengers to seeing the Tony big Stark, Chitauri on the ground crash
Civil
War.
Not Civil War, but they mentioned Civil War.
Yeah, they mention it.
But having Cap in there, I'm pretty sure he's a war hero.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean a war criminal, but whatever.
Hannibal Buress
was
was like the gym/detention teacher. Very, very small role, but every single time he was on screen it was very golden.
Great. Yeah. He's good. Yeah, definitely relied on that stuff, but
Uh-huh.
was able to, still have their own movie. And I mean, that's what was so great about this movie is it really was Sony working with Marvel, and they were able to put all their fucking shit aside, give Spider-Man to Marvel for Civil War, which still Sony didn't make a dollar off of, really.
Yeah, exactly.
And then still do this, Marvel was able to give him a couple characters and stuff like that, and made this fantastic movie that Sony is probably making fucking bank off right now.
Oh yeah, no, and that's what's cool about this is that like now whatever their contract, because I'm sure they have a contract right now. I heard that they definitely do, and because I want to say that it's like Marvel has use of 2 to 3 movies, and then Sony makes their money off their own produced movies, but Marvel makes their money off of their
own stuff.
But now what's great is that Sony, even though they probably didn't make a ton of money off of this, they're saying, hey, now we have a property that people love.
Yeah.
And they don't, because I mean, like I really did not like the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I
I was very unhappy with it.
I feel like they
just
had
the
to
fact
kill
that
off
they
the
killed
characters.
Jamie Foxx. Yeah.
Well, they had to kill off him, and I mean, if you haven't seen this movie, like, but like,
no, it's
yeah,
spoiled.
it's
It's
too
spoiled.
late.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
You
but when
shouldn't,
they
and it's
killed
not
off-
canon,
when
so
they
it
killed
doesn't
off
matter.
fucking what's her name?
Yeah, Gwen. Now-
So I understand the way they did it was awesome because that's how they did in the comics and everything. But in the movie, it didn't make sense too much because in the whole movie, he's trying to push her away, and he's like, "No, like I want to protect you. I want to protect you. I got to stay away." And in the end, she ends up dying anyways. And like what the fuck? It's just like that's what you were trying to do, didn't happen, and then you're sad, and now you realize you still have to be Spider-Man, and like I just felt like they just did it for the sake of we're gonna make the people who saw the comics happy, but in the movie it just didn't make sense. It was like, all right, he was trying to push her away the whole time, and it still happened.
And really, the comic book has such a much better dynamic because who throws her off of like a building or a bridge or off his glider is Harry Osborn, or Norman Osborn. I can't remember exactly, but they're also carrying. She's also carrying their child. Gwen Stacy actually cheated on him, or there was a time, I can't remember exactly, to where they weren't together. She was actually carrying the Osborn's child, so I mean, the dynamic in the comic book is so much different, and it has so much more importance, you know what I mean? And like I said, I really hated that they killed off Jamie Foxx. I thought that was dumb. I thought that it was a great character that he could have used, and it could have progressed to Sinister Six, and along with your Hobgoblin, which I guess everybody was like ho-hum with, it was like, I don't know if I like him or if I don't.
Yeah.
But you still had a good cast of villains that you could have used that you just kind of threw away. And without saying too much, they very much leave this movie open for characters to progress.
Yep.
And it's really the whole lot of them. They don't make any mistakes. They don't try to do anything too fast, and they really want to let you know that this is the beginning of something great. And like I told you, like I was telling you with ARMS, you know what I mean? ARMS is a great very first Nintendo IP, and ARMS 2 is going to be great. Spider-Man, this new Spider-Man 2, dude, I really believe that this movie is going to be so good.
Oh, yeah.
Like Spider-Man 2 is going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And especially Spider-Man's role in Infinity War. You were telling me that the next Spider-Man movie will take place right after this next Avengers movie.
So he's probably going to be a little shell-shocked and stuff from what I'm hearing. I don't remember exactly what my source was for this, but I think it could be like a matter of like minutes. Like I think they're going to, just do something like that. Like, boom. You just saw Infinity War. You loved it.
Kind of like that Rogue
this
One.
Is what happened
like
right
that
after.
Rogue One thing.
Yeah.
It was just like, minutes. Like, this
like,
takes
who
place
knows?
within minutes of the universe.
Yeah, maybe it's literally when he's leaving. Like, he's like, I got to go. And then it's just boom, Homecoming 2 or
exactly.
whatever they're going to call the sequel. But I'm going back to, you saying, killing off characters in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. And then with this one, another thing about it is it was really lighthearted. Like, we didn't really see they could have done a lot of death. They could have done this, but they didn't do much of that without getting too much into it. And I think it makes sense because, again, he's 15.
He's
like,
15.
Yeah.
And
like, of
and
course he's
without
not
saying
gonna be,
too much,
yeah.
just a small thing. His suit has abilities that he doesn't even understand.
Yeah.
And like he has the opportunity to kill people.
Yeah,
you know,
easily.
and his suit is designed for that if he ever needs it.
Yeah.
And he's like, no.
I
He's like, I don't want to do
Yeah.
that. Like,
and yeah,
so
that,
it's very cool.
And the whole suit thing was another awesome part of it about the movie that
How
you didn't
do-
even get.
How
fully.
do you feel? I want to tell you that if you already seen Civil War, you know that his suit has some sort of tech in it.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows you that at the end of Civil War when he's like looking at it and you see the big Spider-Man like light on his wall, you kind of have an idea that there's more to the suit than.
Yep.
What do you think of this now tech Spider-Man? Do you really like it? Is that something that you're okay with? It almost kind of has like a Jarvis vibe at some points.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about that?
I really like it just because, I mean, it makes sense because you were given this suit from Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Like, of course, like, it just makes sense in the story that, you know, Tony Stark would go out of his way and make the most advanced and awesome suit for you. And even though he's not using all those features yet, like, I like, it's not a bad thing to have those features on. Like,
Exactly.
You know?
And like I said, that's another thing that will set up to a greater Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Once he does become familiar with everything that he can do. Now, the only thing is that there is some things to where I don't want them to rely too heavy on his suit. Like, that's just isn't what Spider-Man is to me.
Well, and I think with this movie, they definitely... They
did and they didn't.
They didn't. There was a big part of the
Yeah.
movie where it's just kind of like, well, you kind of have to now.
Yeah.
But what I can see them doing,
It was more of like a big preview. You know what I mean? It's like this
Kind
is a
of.
preview
You're right.
of what Spider-Man will be, and then they kind of drop that
Yeah.
off, and they're like,
All
"No,
right.
we're gonna stop it. We just wanted to let you know."
there's a little teaser for that. But what I can totally see, you know, if this movie, you know, makes it to a third one, which it has to. It was that good. I could totally
this is a
see
trilogy,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
could totally see, you know, this being the intro, but at, you know, not being an intro because, you know, we didn't see Uncle Ben die and all that stuff. Awesome, thank you for not doing that, not even like really talking about it at all. Like, thank you for that. And then this next one is going to be, you know, him facing a bigger threat. It's going to be him, you know, training to have to do it. And then I can see the third one, at least the beginning of it, he's reached his peak basically. Like, he is Spider-Man.
Well,
he is perfect. He's able to do all this stuff. He knows his strength, and then maybe, you know, he gets it taken away or something like that.
Well, and that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, Spider-Man will be that jump from Captain America Avengers to Captain America Winter Soldier. Like, we saw a very drastically different Captain America. Like, I think Marvel knew that they kind of had a slight problem, because I mean, kind of like the joke of the Avengers was like, oh well, like, oh, you're Captain America, like, cool. And then, like, he kind of punched some aliens on top of a taxi, and you're like, that's still not very cool.
Yeah.
You know, and, like, they try to make the cop, you know, that scene to where he's like, okay, well, set up the barricades. And you're like,
One of my
you're
favorite
like,
scenes.
Yeah, you're like, but you still weren't very cool. And I think a lot of people, you know, like, even the Honest trailer is just like nobody's favorite superhero, Captain America, you know. But they addressed that, and they fixed that in Winter Soldier, to when you watch Winter Soldier, you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Captain America is fucking badass.
Yeah.
And then they continue that in Civil War. You're like, wow, like, he is no fucking shit to fuck around with.
Yep.
And that will be the jump between Spider-Man to Spider-Man 2 and 3.
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
definitely.
we will have this fucking matured badass. And really what I'm thinking, honestly, is that here's the theory, okay? This is no way spoilers. This is no way anything. This is my theory. You have a choice to listen to it. Press pause on the podcast if you want to, okay? We seen in like Avengers 2, you know, how Tony Stark saw everybody like dead. You know, he had that vision of everybody dead. And then, you know, Captain America pretty much tell him like, you weren't here. Where were you? Like, you know, you kind of failed us, you know. And I think that a lot of people think that that's why there was no end credit scene to Avengers, because that was actually the end credit scene, was him seeing that vision. So if you put that into place, if you know what Thanos does in the comics, Thanos kills a lot of people. Thanos kills a lot, and in the comic book, he specifically actually kills most of the Avengers, and pretty much a team 2 of Avengers has to go out and try to, they find a way to resurrect them, you know. So if they follow suit to comic books, which they have and they haven't.
Yeah.
Civil War is very much Civil War, but it's also drastically different. You know, we didn't see Captain America get gunned down and die. So there is a big differences that they choose to leave out. So that could be one of them. But what I'm thinking is what happens is we're gonna have Team 1 go in, which is Captain America, War Machine, Winter Soldier, Hulk. Well, maybe not Hulk. Depending on what happens in Thor Ragnarok, and also not Thor. I'm thinking too, but well, actually no. Thor will be there.
He'll be there whether
Thor will be there.
He dies or not.
Yeah. Vision, Scarlet Witch, Black Widow. I think all those people are gonna die by Thanos' hand
for the most part.
And I think then here enters Tony Stark, knowing that he wasn't there for the Avengers, and then what does he do? He finally goes up to Peter Parker and says, I fucking need you. Like, this is what I need from you now. You are a part of this. And he's going to be experienced now, and he'll really have a grasp on everything. And then enter Guardians of the Galaxy, and then it's this team because Doctor Strange, and then possibly depending on where Hulk and Thor are after Thor Ragnarok, possibly them or one of them, depending on that. And then that's that second team of Avengers that tries to resurrect, and then they all finally defeat Thanos. So that's kind of what my prediction is, and I think that's why it's great of you're saying Spider-Man 2 will be moments after, because I think at this point it's going to be Spider-Man is an Avenger, and not only is an Avenger, he is the Captain America. He is the Iron Man of 5 years ago. Like, he is the person to usher in the age of what Avengers is now. And I think he's going to be that perfect character. He's going to be funny, he's going to be witty, but he's also going to know that he needs to be serious, and he's going to learn all that. And I think it's going to be great. I really think that Tom Holland, Spider-Man, will be the Iron Man of what Avengers is in the next couple of years. And
that'll be interesting.
And from what I see from Spider-Man Homecoming, I think he can do it. I mean, just think, man, he could fucking really pull this off. And Kevin Feige, and I mean, you also have other people coming in too, like Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I was about to say people we haven't even really seen.
Yeah, exactly. Yet. And it's going to be very cool, because I mean, think of Avengers Team 2 when you get down to it. It will be Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, possibly Bucky as Captain America. Because what's crazy thing that a lot of people seem to forget is he has a 9-movie contract, and I mean, 9-movie contract, Winter Soldier, like at some point he becomes Captain America. I have no doubt about that. And even to where, War Machine could become Iron Man, you know what I mean? Because here's another thing too, is I noticed in Spider-Man, did you notice that it seemed like, I don't know, like Robert Downey Jr. just... He just isn't. He just, like, especially at the end of the movie, like how he looked. Like, I was like, dude, you're looking old. Like, I don't know if you noticed that, but I really did. I was just like man, like even just his hair. I'm like, dude, your hair even had more life, and and I think that's weird to say, but I think it's true, And I mean, you're hearing speculations that he's ready to end his career with the Marvel.
Yeah, well, he's got rumors going around like right now too, where he's saying, he needs to leave it at the right time. Like there's he said he'll know when he's overdone his welcome or overstayed his welcome, and so he and if he's tweeting stuff like that out, like it's going to happen, and it's everyone has to do it. Now we've got Hugh Jackman that's kind of officially saying he's he's putting down his claws and stuff like that. If you want to do that,
Deadpool, Huey,
do it.
But yeah,
and that's time, and I definitely still feel like the movies are going to thrive because we still have all these other great actors. Another one you didn't mention too much, Ant-Man. He's probably going to be that second one.
And that's the great thing about Marvel Cinematic Universe, where it's at, is that there's characters, that like Ant-Man, like you space out about because there's so many. And Ant-Man will be that generation Avengers too, and I mean that, and just think about how great that's going to be, the dynamic between Ant-Man and Spider-Man. That's going to be that awesome dynamic that we're not going to get with Deadpool and Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like, cause that's another thing with Spider-Man Homecoming. It was very much PG-13 Deadpool. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it very much was that character. And that's so cool. And I'm really excited. And you could even probably throw in the Vision to Avengers, you know what I mean? Yeah. And they kind of hint at that at the end of Avengers Age of Ultron, when he's like, you know. And another thing is Captain America will fucking say Avengers Assemble in Infinity War or whatever the fuck they're gonna call it, and it's gonna be goddamn glorious.
Dude,
It's gonna be great. I hope he drops from the sky, his fucking shield goes in the ground, and he looks up at Thanos and he's like, Avengers Assemble, and they all just drop from the fucking sky like onto a beach or something. Like,
it's gonna
I'm
be
ready.
so
I'm
good.
ready, body. Oh, my
And-
body is ready.
And still, what's so crazy, as long as it doesn't move around and everything, is we're going to get Infinity War. I think it's 2018, so next year, and then we get the next one just a year later.
Well, and that's the thing now is like officially right now it's not a two-parter.
Yeah.
So they're saying that, but there is still 2 slated Avengers movies.
Yeah, there's something's going to be
what
there.
I mean?
Maybe it's going to be a different name or something.
And
but I mean,
and a lot of people are forgetting too. This is directed by the Russo brothers. These are the people who fucking make John Wick. This movie will have the best action of all fucking Marvel movies. I am fucking hyped. That is who did Winter Soldier. That's why they got the green light to do the next Avengers. They're like, fucking Winter Soldier was great, dude.
Yeah.
You get Avengers, you know, and I think that is such a right move, you know, because I mean, fucking dude, picture Spider-Man in fucking John Wick, you know, like a hard R Spider-Man killing people, like I'm sure that won't happen, you know. I'm sure that won't happen to where we see. I mean, you never know. Maybe Spider-Man does have to finally resort to killing in Avengers, you know what I mean? And it is that, you know, you got to get your hands dirty sometimes to save the world, and that'll be a very cool dynamic. And I'm sure Spider-Man will eventually have to kill, you know what I mean? Or you know, to where he accidentally kills or something like that, you know? But
even though, like, I guess death isn't too big of a thing in most of the Avenger movies, like,
I mean, it is because it's happening everywhere,
you know.
but they don't put the spotlight on it.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, they're still lighthearted. You know, it's still for, you know, kids can go in there and watch it.
When Captain America kicks that dude into the steel door and he dents into the door, homie's dead.
Yeah,
dude's done. Homie's dead, you know.
Dude's
I mean,
done.
there is a ton of killing in Marvel movies.
Or like
it's just
parents
not dark
and stuff like
you know,
that
it's
and
just
everything.
not dark.
Yeah.
I mean, even the scene of the like, it's not a yacht, what's the word I'm looking for in Homecoming, the
the ferry?
Like, yeah, the ferry. You know, people do die. They do show people kind of fall off the boat in a very, very quick scene and like go to where under the ship or where people, like, that's where the engines of it is. So like you kind of know that someone had to die.
Yeah.
But you know, they just never put that spotlight on it. Like even in Batman vs Superman, like he is blowing up people. You know, and he is definitely killing people, you know, which Kevin Conroy ended up saying that he absolutely hated.
Really?
He was just like, Batman does not kill, and I just really don't agree with the direction that they went with that. You know, like, you know, and it's true. That's how we all felt in the theater when we watched that scene. When he's driving in the Batmobile and he blows people up, you're like, that is not fucking Batman.
Yeah.
You know, and that is something
that's
that they
Arkham
nailed.
Knight Batman.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what was cool about Spider-Man is I think they kind of really realized that. They're like, you know what, we don't have Batman, but we can sell that with Spider-Man because, you know, we actually have had a lot of our characters actually kill people, you know, whether or not we spotlight it or not, you know, but we do have him kill people, and Spider-Man is that person to where we can finally get that audience like, this dude doesn't kill. You know, and then when he finally does, it'll be a very important scene that will fucking pay off.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
And it'll be better than the fucking Zod scene. You know.
Yeah.
You know, so because what's weird about that scene is like, oh, everybody was like, Superman doesn't kill, blah blah blah. He doesn't kill. How stupid that he killed Zod. You're shitting me, right? Because he fucking killed thousands of people fighting Zod moments before.
Yeah,
there's no way people did not die. That's part of that's a big part of Batman versus Superman. But yeah, you know, they make a big.
It's just not by
thing.
His hand.
Yeah,
you know, he was.
Look, I've had discussions with people that are really big Superman fucking people, and they're like, no, Superman would not have had that. He would have taken Zod out of the city. You know, and that's a very big point. Like, he's Superman. He could have made that battle go out of the city if he wanted.
See, and seeing we're already over here talking about about the DC universe, but I mean, going back to Marvel, like, we don't really have those kind of conversations because they're just so much betterly made. Like, they just
and
Marvel knows what they're doing.
They don't try to sell that fact. You know what I mean? Like, Batman sells the fact that he doesn't fucking kill. Superman sells the fact that he's one of the best people in the world, even though he has powers, and he could be the worst person in the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Crazy. Well, you know what? I'm glad because before this talk of Spider-Man, I was very much like a 7.75, 8, and now I'm thinking like 8.5, maybe 9. Like
I seriously,
it is a very, very great fucking movie.
it really is. Like
I said,
you were
it
saying,
could
I think
use less school.
I think
but
just
that's all right.
watching it again after
Driver.
Baby Driver really kind of. We were like,
It's 'cause
I
it was
think if
all-
we watched it before Baby Driver, I
Oh, yeah.
really think we would have thought, oh yes, this was such a good movie, and then
Yeah.
we would have seen Baby Driver
Yeah.
and just been blown away.
But yeah, no, looking back, yeah, Spider-Man is truly great.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It's good.
It is up there with Spider-Man 2. Is it better? I don't know.
I don't
Same
think
thing
it
with
is
Wonder
yet.
Woman. Same thing with Wonder
Yeah.
Woman. I don't know which one's better. They're
Yeah.
still very, very good. I almost like Gal Gadot's fucking, which it might be Gal Gadot. I heard a announcer announce, they said it. And I think it was James Corbin, and he was just like Gal Gadot, and I was like, fuck, might have been saying it wrong this whole time. What if we've been saying it wrong the whole time?
No, it's Gal Gadot.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
It has to be.
Dude, what if
Gal Gadot.
See, right now
like a
we could
doe.
ask your Echo Dot to give us the correct pronunciation.
I wouldn't trust Alexa with that.
Really?
Oh yeah, I don't trust her with a lot of stuff.
Nah, bullshit.
We're not
pretty
there
soon you
yet.
guys are gonna be so fucking tight. It's gonna be crazy.
I hope so.
You're gonna just be like talking to her while you're playing games sometimes.
I did yesterday. I was playing Mass Effect, and I'm just like, hey, I was gonna say, hey Gal Gadot, hey Gal Gadot.
That's what you name her. Like,
I know. I
that'd
just
be
name her
super
Gal. I wish.
creepy.
There's no, you don't have a lot of stuff you can say. You can name her Alexa, computer, Amazon, or Echo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
computer's cool because you feel like Batman.
Yeah.
But then I'm
Computer.
like, Alexa is just less syllables. It's easier. Alexa,
Ale-
Alexa, computer. I guess it's not syllables. It's the same around as syllables. So there's that. It's easier to say. Flows off the tongue.
Flows off the tongue. I gotcha. Well, thank you for joining us. That was such a great podcast. I really appreciate everybody listening. If you're at Denver Comic Con, you were awesome. Thank you for engaging us. And if you haven't, you didn't see our gallery, go check it out. It's very awesome. We're going to try to make some videos or something else today to give you all new content. Wubba lubba dub dub. I'm actually not depressed. I don't know if I am. Who knows?
Thanks for listening. Like what you hear? Subscribe now and feel free to drop us a rate and review. Stay current with all things Geeks Between Worlds.